stunning looks than swift.
What do we potentially have on the cards in the World Cup final at Ahmedabad? India, tournament favourites, the home team who blaze away and brush away oppositions, have been bowled out of the last ball of their 50 overs for 240. Do we have one of the great anticlimaxes on the cards? What kind of score is 240? India, who got 80 in their first 10, with Rohit Sharma getting 7 boundaries, only managed 9 between the rest of the team as run making got hard on what clearly is a pitch that needs to be discussed. On Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket Info Matchday, powered by Qatar Airways. We hear from Tom Moody a little while from now. First up, Anil Kumble. 240. What kind of score is that?
I think it's of course, if you look at the enormity of the final, and yes, India would feel that yes, they probably got about 30 runs short, 270 or 280 perhaps. The way they got off to a great start with Rohit there. But looking at the conditions, once the new ball was off and once Rohit got out, 2 new batters, was not easy. When you hit the deck, I feel 240, India will be happy that they got to 240. And it's a score where in a final it's as good as 260, 265 because of the pressure that the batting lineup will face when they come in and get those runs.
So are you saying it's still in the balance, or is it advantage Australia?
No, it is certainly advantage Australia to an extent, but I still feel they'll have to get off to a good start again. If those first 10 overs they lose a couple of wickets, then it's definitely advantage India.
Okay, summation of the first innings, Tom Moody.
I thought firstly it was a brilliant bowling performance, brilliant fielding performance, and I think Pat Cummins probably had his best game tactically as a captain. So I felt there's a lot to like about what's happened in the first half of the game from Australia's point of view. I think the pitch played pretty much as we expected. We heard from the ground that it was dry. It was bare at the ends. You took pace off the ball, the seamers, and hit the wicket hard. You didn't get any response out of the wicket. It didn't turn a huge amount, but then Australia's spinners aren't the biggest turners of the ball. So we'll really see what spin this pitch has in it when India get the ball in their hands. But I think at this stage, Australia have got their head in front of the race. But I think that there's a huge mountain to climb yet.
Okay, I'm going to come into key moments of the first innings very shortly. But Tom, let me go back to you. You say tactical masterclass from Pat Cummins. Break that down. What stood out in terms of Pat Cummins being on the money as a captain today?
I think first and foremost, he led from example. When he came into the attack, the Indian opposition captain was up and running and flying, and he held his nerve from a bowling perspective, and he managed to sort of put some sort of squeeze on in the early parts of his spell. And I felt the way he rotated his bowlers, how he brought the part-time bowling of Head and Marsh in for 2 overs each, and I think between them they only went for something like 9 runs for those 4 overs. Yes, and the way that he rotated Stark when the ball started to reverse, he got Stark back in there, and Stark took some critical wickets when he obviously saw that the ball was getting a bit worn. And Stark is one of the modern day, greats when it comes to reverse swing of that white ball. So there's a number of things I felt that he was very clever in the way he did it. The other aspect is that I thought the astute field placing that he recognised very quickly that the pitch itself was very slow, and the way he set up the leg side field for his fast bowlers and got them to bowl into the pitch with the changing of pace. I thought was, again, a bit of a tactical masterstroke.
Yeah, it seemed like they came well prepared as far as field placements go for India. We saw the same energy in the field as the semi-final, Anil, and we also saw, a second deep third for Rohit Sharma early on. They came well prepared today, Australia?
Yes, they were certainly spot on in terms of their 2 fielders that they needed outside the ring in the first power play. So that way they came in very well prepared. They read the conditions well, they hit the deck. Like Tom mentioned, it was more tougher when you bowled at the body of a batter and kept your onside fielding. Even when Virat and and KL Rahul were batting in that partnership, they left the cover open and kept an additional fielder at square legs. So that made it that much more difficult for the batter to power their way through. So it was good captaincy, good lines they bowled, and more than anything else, I think the fielding effort, they certainly saved, Australia must have saved about 15, 18 runs on the field. And the catch, of course, was the certainly change that took place in that power play.
Yeah, let's go into that. It's a big moment. And I wonder what you felt when Glenn Maxwell came on first change.
Yeah.
And he bowled 2 overs in the power play, and after being hit for a 6 and 4, he got Rohit Sharma. Break that down, please.
I mean, you certainly feel for Rohit, and you sort of, if you're an Indian fan, you would say, why? You've got 10 runs, just play it around, and then the next 10 overs is yours. He had set the platform like he has always done in this tournament, but perhaps he felt that this was the last over of the power play. Fielder restrictions are there. Maxey's already got a 6 and a 4. You just go after him, and that's exactly what he thought. And he misread. He took the outside edge, and then a brilliant catch at covers. Travis said.
Tom, is there a case to be crossed with Rohit Sharma for playing that shot in a World Cup final? Can we possibly have it both ways?
I think it's easy to criticise with. Yeah, I think it's easy to be critical with hindsight. At the end of the day, this is the brand of cricket he's brought to this tournament, and it's one of the main reasons India have been undefeated to this point, and he's given a wonderful platform for that middle order to feed off. So, I certainly wouldn't be criticising Rohit Sharma for that, because he was pretty clear he recognised that this pitch itself was only going to get harder and harder to score on, so he felt the new ball was the time to attack. And when Maxwell came into it, he realised as a right-hander, that's my matchup, and it's my chance to maybe get an over of 16 or 20, which will propel us into that score, into the the 260 to 280 range. But as it turned out, it backfired, and it's easy for us to be critical, but if it landed another metre wide of Travis' head, people wouldn't have said another thing about it.
Yep, fair enough. The other monumental moment, because when Rohit powers India to those starts, Kohli then takes over, and Kohli bats deep. Kohli doesn't get out, whatever the surface, and Kohli got out. Why?
Yeah, I mean, it's just that probably off the surface. It was not an easy surface to get the pace right every time. He just looked to play through third man for a single, and then it came a bit slower, and that's why the angle of the bat was not right and hit him inside edge. Obviously, it's Pat Cummins was looking to just do that, just bowl cutters into the surface, where the one ball was slightly quicker, one ball was stopping and coming, so you had to be really, really closely watching it. And he thought it was because of the length that Pat Cummins bowled. I'm sure Virat Kohli would have probably thought that it was a single, and I mean, this happens on a wicket like this.
Yeah.
You tend to get bowled like that on occasions.
Yeah, he had a quiet tournament as a bowler, Tom, but what made Pat Cummins so hard to get away today?
I think he's immaculate line. He just bowled an exceptional line, exceptional length, and he made it hard for the Indian batters to hit him square of the wicket or behind the wicket. And Anil's absolutely right. This is a surface where you are going to see those inside edges onto the stumps, particularly if you're looking to run the ball behind square on the offside. I thought he also changed his pace very well, and just his field placements to support what he was trying to bowl was absolutely spot on. So he's had a good day out so far, the Australian captain.
The laborious nature of the partnership between Kohli and Rahul, particularly the second part of Kohli's innings, because he got away nicely early on. What does it tell us about the surface? Is it the kind of surface that it's hard to hit boundaries even when you've spent a lot of time? KL Rahul spent 133 minutes there. He's got just the one boundary.
Yes, it's not easy. It's not an easy surface where the ball's coming on, and for you to time through the shot, not easy if you bowl a tight line and length. And not just that, even the bounce is not that great. It's a bit low, so it's not that you get the sort of power behind the shot as well. So that's something that both the batters found it difficult after that initial first 15 overs where Virat scored those boundaries. Post that, he never got a boundary till he got out. So it was not easy for the for those two batters. I also felt that those two batters were literally looking to lay another foundation.
Yeah.
So that the last 15 overs, if you have, say, 7 wickets in hand and Virat was still there around the 35th over, then it was a great platform for India to power their way through the next 15 to about 260, 270, or if you have a good day, then even 280, 290. So that probably was the plan, and unfortunately for India, Virat got out, and then sort of they lost the momentum from there on.
Yeah. So Tom, you would agree that they played the situation as per what you would have wanted. They may not have batted as deep as the Indian team think tank would have wanted, but for those who might be thinking, right, if Rahul was spending so long there, he should have probably taken on or try and gotten boundaries before it gotten harder. Is that a valid question?
Well, let me put it this way. If we spin it on its head, and if that was Smith and Labuschagne, would be critical of that partnership, because both of them were sort of sitting very much in the back seat of the partnership. To me, that first half of that partnership was critical, and they addressed it the way they needed to address it by just accumulating runs and taking risk out. But then there was a point in that partnership where one of those players needed to look for a boundary on a more of a regular basis, put the pressure back on Australia. And I know the conditions were difficult, but with the brand of cricket that India has played to this point, to me, that phase, that sort of intent was missing in that partnership, particularly the second half of it.
Would you concur, or do you have a differing view?
Yeah, I mean, perhaps maybe one of them could have certainly looked to go after that 25th over. That's why I felt maybe they were looking at the 30-over mark because of the conditions and the surface. If you look back at the South Africa game, where India lost 2 wickets in the power play, and then Shreyas Iyer and Virat Kohli put together that partnership, it was 1 wicket less. The reason that perhaps KL and Virat wanted to go towards the 35th over was because they were 1 wicket more. They only had Surya and Jadeja, which that that probably is the last pair, and then it's going to be a bit of a challenge on this kind of a surface. So maybe yes, to an extent, but I felt that perhaps they would have gone slightly more aggressive in their intent post the 30th over. Unfortunately for India, Virat Kohli,
the timing of his wicket
was around the 29th over, so maybe that sort of pushed everything back.
It's one of those where you've got to almost leave it to the batters in the middle to decide.
Yes, I think so. I think if as long as they were there, if they batted until that 35th over, I felt that India could easily get to a 265, 270. Yeah.
Now, the big call they had to make at the 29th over was whether Surya Kumar Yadav comes in. It turns out it's a difference of 5 overs. Did they make the right call in sending Ravindra Jadeja there? Would you have stuck with Surya at 6?
I would have stuck with Surya at 6 because he's your main batter. You expect him to get runs for your team, and he's an outstanding batter. So on this kind of a surface, you give him whatever time possible, because once he gets to understand the pace of the pitch, then it's easier for him to play those shots, and he certainly can change the rhythm of the game and also momentum shift. And I think he would have batted a bit more freer if he knew that Jadeja was after him.
Yeah.
But once Rahul got out, and once Jadeja got out, and then he came in, and then the moment Rahul got out, then it was tough for Surya to just go there and then play his natural game.
Give me your views on it, Tom. Did it make as much of a difference? Jadeja's been in decent batting form. He's batted an innings of 9 of 22, but how would that potentially have altered the dynamic had India stuck to Surya?
Yeah, I'd agree with Anil. I just think your better player's got to go in at that stage. This is the final. He's a dynamic player. Give him every chance to get that 50 or 60 runs to propel you, beyond 250, 260. But it felt like he was always concerned about what was left in the tank, and there wasn't a lot left in the tank. And that's always been, I suppose, India's conundrum with regards to, playing 6 specialist batters, the all-rounder and all the specialist bowlers. The depth of the batting falls away quite quickly. But yeah, to me, your best players have got to face the most amount of balls in white ball cricket, whether it's 50-over cricket or 20-over cricket.
All right, let's look ahead. What are India's best chances of defending this? Anil Kumble, we've seen Pat Cummins successful. We've not seen a lot of wickets to spin. But what is India's best chance here?
I think 3 wickets. You need the top 3 to get out cheaply. Even if India can get Australia to 50 for 3 with the 2 left-hand openers and Marsh, who's potentially the dangerous in this lineup because he's tall, he can certainly muscle because of the slowness of the wicket. He's someone who can perhaps pick the length sooner than a shorter statured batter. So I would think that these 3 are the crucial batters. If India can get past them early, then I think it's going to be challenging because we've seen Australia struggle to get 213, 214 against South Africa on a similar kind of a surface. A better bowling attack. India certainly has a better spin attack, better fast bowling attack. Bumrah, I think, will be a handful on this. We've seen the cutters work for Cummins. Bumrah is a smart bowler, so he will utilize his pace and also the swing that you may possibly get more now in the evening under lights, plus the cutters. So I feel India can defend it. It all depends on how they go about the power play.
Yep. Now, can they start a little differently, Tom? I'm going to just bring up Mohammad Shami's numbers against left-hand batters. Seems like there is a stark difference in Shami's impact, and given that we've got 2 left-hand opening bats coming out, I'm guessing Rohit Sharma has to have his best game as captain, just as Pat Cummins did. Siraj has taken the new ball. Is there a case to start with Shami?
I think there's a case to bowl every over with Shami, the way he's bowling. But, yeah, look, he's been as good a form that he's been in his lifetime. So there is an absolute case that he should be given the new ball because he does swing the new ball. His ability to take wickets has been phenomenal in this World Cup. Mohammad Siraj has been slightly in and out of form throughout the tournament. He's still a very fine bowler. We must remember going into this tournament, he was, one of the best ODI bowlers, ranked ODI bowlers in the world. But you've got to go to me with current form and also just look at it. Who would Travis Head and David Warner rather face in the first 6 to 8 overs of this contest? And I would have thought Shami wouldn't be in the top of the list.
Oh, yes, of course. Shami around the stumps. Warner doesn't like bowlers coming around the stumps. That angle is something that he doesn't prefer. And even Travis Head, someone who sort of goes after the bowling. Shami has that ability to come around the stumps and then take the ball away from the left-hander. We saw that against Devon Conway and Rachin Ravindra. So, yes, on form, Shami for sure. The only thing that, just to add to India, whether they'll be able to defend that score, would be hoping that there won't be any dew, because that's the last thing that you want if you are defending a slightly smaller total than what you probably anticipated at the start of the innings.
Dew changes the dynamic completely then?
It certainly does. It certainly does, because it's not going to be easy for the spinners especially, and also the wicket tends to get slightly better with a wet ball. It tends to come on to you nicely. So yes, dew certainly changes the equation, but if there's no dew, it's going to be harder for the batters.
India's bowlers have had the tournament of their lifetime. They will now have to put in one more shift if they are to take India to a 3rd World Cup title. 241 was the score at half-time at the last Men's World Cup final. Tom Moody, we know how that ended. We're one short. How do we see the World Cup playing out?
I think Australia should win this. It's not going to be easy, though, because India are a terrific bowling unit and fielding unit, for that matter. So I think Australia, certainly in the box seat, but I certainly wouldn't be counting out India or your favourite thing, a super over.
Yeah, it's not happened all tournament. Such a long tournament, it's not happened once. It's due. Anil Kumble, prediction.
No, for me, I think India certainly has the chance. Like I said, if there's no dew, then India, I still feel are the favourites to win this game, because looking at the Australian batting lineup, they haven't chased really well at all. They have depended on their number 8, 9, 10 to take them through in the last 2 run chases that they have had, one against Afghanistan and the other against South Africa. So they are heavily dependent on that lower order batting. Against this bowling lineup, I don't see the lower order. If it gets to the lower order, I don't see the lower order getting them home.
Wow. All right. So prediction time?
I think India.
India to win narrowly, I'm guessing.
It'll be a close game. It'll be a close game, yes.
Tom?
Australia at the 47.2 mark.
To get bowled out?
They're winning.
All right, thank you very much. Tom Moody, Anil Kumble. Divided opinion at halftime on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Matchday, powered by Qatar Airways. The last few hours of the 13th edition of the Men's World Cup. Will we see a 6th World Cup title for Australia or a 3rd for India? All will be revealed at the end. Join us for post-match analysis. Download the mobile app if you haven't already. You cannot be doing anything but following the World Cup final. It's come down to the very end. Let's see how it culminates, and we'll pick up the conversation with Anil Kumble and Tom Moody as soon as it's done.
Stunning looks, then swift,